Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well as usual. So after a couple of weeks, I'm back with another video, and as promised, I'm going to complete part 2 of my top 20 death metal albums of all time. So if you didn't see the first video, you can go and watch that. It's the one directly previous to this. And essentially, in this series, I'm just talking about my top 20 death metal albums of all time. Just to bear in mind, as I mentioned in the previous video, those are not ranked in any order. These are just my top 20 in general, because I find it too difficult with the diversity to actually place them in that kind of order, like this is first best, this is second best, and so on. So yeah, these are just my top 20 in general, and the only order in which they were was alphabetical, so that's continuing today. But I don't want to get bogged down in these details because there's something else I need to mention. But yeah, we will just get started straight away. So as I said, I've already gone through the first 10, and today the next 10, but also I'm going to mention some runners-up and honorable mentions, which I forgot about. So these don't officially make the list, but they're albums that I really like, and they're very close to the top 20. So the first of those is Murder Squad with Unsane, Insane, and Mentally Deranged. So if you're not familiar, Murder Squad is a death metal band from Sweden, and they are somewhat of a supergroup because it features 2 members of Entombed, which were Uffe Sederlund and Peter Stjernvind, and 2 members of Dismember, Matti Kärki and Richard Cabeza. So yeah, 2 members of Entombed and Dismember, and essentially they're paying tribute to the Autopsy sound. So as I mentioned in part 1, Autopsy are one of my favorite death metal bands of all time, and they actually made the list as well, not surprisingly. But yeah, so this band, it's sort of like they're paying tribute to that sound, but what's interesting is it's not a total carbon copy, because it's also infused with that Swedish death metal HM2 sound, and not surprisingly, because it's got members of Entombed and Dismember. So imagine that, it's like a blend of the Swedish death metal sound, or like, sorry, the Autopsy sound with a Swedish death metal touch, yeah, you could say. And it's absolutely fantastic, just old school, gory, brutal death metal. Yeah, and you can really hear that Autopsy influence. Matti Kärki's vocals sound very similar to the way he does in Dismember. And yeah, it's just got that sound of familiarity if you know those bands. But absolutely fantastic album. Like I said, this was going to be in the top 20, but then it got relegated by another choice which I made at the 11th hour. But yeah, they have that really dark Autopsy-esque atmosphere on certain songs, especially the slower ones like Depravation and also Blood Freak. Very sick lyrics in that song, and it suits the dark and disturbing atmosphere of that particular track. But I really like all of them. Like, yeah, Twisted High is good. They have sort of some thrashy, upbeat ones. Yeah, they've got everything. They've got a sort of eerie instrumental to close the album, Horror Eternal. But yeah, I would say if you like that Swedish death metal sound and you like Autopsy, you must check this out. So yeah, my only criticism, well, it's not really a criticism, is it is a little bit derivative, but that's the point of this band. Yeah, so they didn't quite make the top 20, but it's a fantastic album. Murder Squad with Unsane, Insane, and Mentally Deranged. And I'll just quickly say they also released a second album called Ravenous Murderous, which is fantastic, but I think this one's better. And that band is touring right now for the very first time, so that's cool. Yeah. So another runner-up or honorable mention, which I forgot to mention last time, is NECROPHOBIC with The Nocturnal Silence. So yet another Swedish death metal band, and this was the band which featured David Blackmoon Parland, who later played guitar for Dark Funeral, the black metal band. But yes, this was the death metal roots, or the start of his band, and this is just absolutely fantastic, like dark Swedish death metal. It's sort of got a satanic theme, I think, so it's like going down that path, you know, rather than horror themes and gore and that kind of thing. But yeah, sort of like you could say, even judging by this cover art, like, is it the Swedish answer to Deicide? Not really. I think it's a lot groovier. But the reason why I like this album so much is it's just so memorable and catchy with the riffing style, and it's not that like American style of death metal where it's really blasting and fast. It's sort of like it's kind of mid-paced and choppy, but that makes the riffs all the more catchy. I also like the fact that this album has somewhat of a black metal vibe, like because they use creepy and eerie keyboards in some songs, like the opening track Awakening, and I think also in The Nocturnal Silence. And I know just because a band uses keyboards, that doesn't make it black metal, but just with the whole theme and the atmosphere on this album, it does have a kind of black metal vibe as well. So yeah, absolutely great stuff. I really like the opening track, that eerie keyboard intro, Awakening, from Awakening is fantastic. Before the Dawn is excellent, and they also have atmospheric moments in these songs. Unholy Prophecies is really good, the title track, and I could just name all of the songs, but I'm not going to do that. Father of Creation has a really groovy sort of Autopsy-esque riff as well. But yes, I think this album has really stood the test of time, and I always find myself coming back to it. So this is another runner-up or honorable mention, Necrophobic with the Nocturnal Silence. All right, 5 minutes in and I haven't even got to the official list, so I'm going to do that now. All right, so today I'm going to mention numbers 11 to 20. As I said, they are in alphabetical order, but this one that I'm going to mention first, you'll see, because in the last video, the last band I mentioned began with H, so this is out of alphabetical order, but like I said, at the 11th hour I decided to include this in my list. It might surprise some people, but here you go. So number 11, Children of Bodom with Are You Dead Yet? So a lot of people, like I said, would probably be surprised that I chose this. Some people would argue it's not even death metal, but if you're not familiar, Children of Bodom, they play what's called melodic death metal. I think they definitely fit into that category, but they do have a unique sound in the sense that they also incorporate aspects of power metal and Yngwie Malmsteen-esque guitar soloing and like the guitar keyboard trade-off. Like they have a full-time keyboard player who's fantastic. Of course, the band is now defunct because Alexi Laiho passed away. Rest in peace, Alexi. A genius, and this band is so creative. But yes, it's the only melodic death metal album on my list for the top 20. But I was just listening to this again recently and I go, oh, I just fucking love this album. It's absolutely fantastic. Every song is so hooky, catchy, and memorable, and they've got a really good grip on melody with the use of their keyboards and everything. And this band in general, but also this album, it really does exude that Finnish nutcase sound. Like in the Finnish black metal documentary, Nuclear Holocausto Vengeance from Beherit said, all Finnish music has this Finnish distinct nutcase sound, even in techno music, it doesn't matter. And that sound is definitely prominent on this album, particularly with the use of keyboards. You can tell when you listen to this band and this album in particular, you just know that they're Finnish. But like it's one album where I would say every single track is a standout. I really like it. Also, it is brutal and heavy, but it's melodic, but they also have those symphonic aspects. So if you don't believe that this is a death metal album, I'm sorry, but it's my list, so what are you gonna do? But yeah, really good. I love the opening track, Living Deadbeat. The title track, Are You Dead Yet, is good. If you want peace, prepare for war. Great song title, and that's a really good one as well. Now, the song In Your Face is my favorite song on this album and my favorite Children of Bodom song of all time. I just implore you to go and listen to that song if you haven't, like with the keyboard melodies and everything, so incredibly Finnish and absolutely brilliant. I also really like, Next in Line, again with those keyboard melodies, and Bastards of Bodom, another great song, Trash, Lost and Strung Out, and We're Not Gonna Fall. Like the whole album is just so good. Like it's heavy, yet it's melodic, and it's so different. So this is why it makes my list like at number 11. So Children of Bodom with Are You Dead Yet? Okay, coming in at number 12 now, and again, remember these are not ranked, this is just a numerical list, is Lividity with The Age of Clitoral Decay. So I did mention this album a few videos ago, I think, when I was just going through my existing CD collection. If you're not familiar, Lividity are a brutal death grind band from Illinois, USA. And I wasn't sure, when I was preparing my list, I thought, does this make it? And then I listened to the album a few times again, and I thought, absolutely it does. This album is absolutely fantastic. Now, I will say there are misogynistic overtones, with the lyrics and the song titles, and I find that, just a bit puerile and silly, to be honest. But musically, this album is absolutely fantastic. Like, it's just incredibly down-tuned death metal. In addition to that, though, like, they have some, like, very complex riffs, and, like, it's complex and it's technical, yet at the same time it flows so well and it's incredibly catchy. Like I'm not sure if I mentioned this when I talked about the album last time, but they have those kind of riffs where you really sing and hum along to because they're so incredibly catchy. And it's death metal done really well. And I know like some people might be put off by the fact that it's what they call porn gore death metal, but I don't pay much attention to the lyrics, to be honest. I think they're a bit silly, as I said, but like musically it's absolutely fantastic. You also have the twin vocal attack by the two members, so guitarist Matt Bishop, who does the low guttural vocals, and Dave Kibler, who does the high-pitched screams, and it sounds absolutely great. Yeah, and like with Matt Bishop's guttural vocals, some people might not get into them because you might say they sound a bit like the Cookie Monster or something, but when they're coupled with the down-tuned heavy guitars and the clinically precise and perfect double bass drumming from NILE, you just think, fuck, that is incredibly heavy. So I just really like this. I said, like, so many incredibly catchy riffs, all the songs are good, and like, with the lyrics, even though I don't like the lyrics, there's just these standout moments which make the songs even more memorable. So really good stuff. They do use some film samples like Mortician, and some of those are okay, like ones from Evil Dead. Other ones, I think some of the samples are too long and pointless, and I also think it's stupid to include samples from porn films. Like, I don't need to listen to people fucking for 3 minutes before the song starts. But you know, I mean, that's just an aside. I think if they scrapped those samples, it would actually be better. But yeah, musically absolutely fantastic. And you know, a lot of these song titles, you know, are quite edgy, so I'm not going to read them out, but like, I really like all of the songs on this. And even though I said the lyrics are like stupid and immature, sometimes they can be funny. Like just looking on that song Food, which is a great song. I forgot to mention this last time, but yeah, so the song Looking for Food, like human corpses to eat. One of the sample lyric here is, take home the silent stump to broil and braise for my fucking lunch. I just love the fact that they say fucking, is just hilarious. But yeah, yeah, so like I said, it is a bit silly lyrically and conceptually and everything, but the music is what counts. And if you haven't heard this band, I would recommend starting with this album. So fantastic stuff. Lividity, The Age of Clitoral Decay. All right. Coming up next. Okay, now the next album, believe it or not, I don't own in original format, so I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to show you the t-shirt. And that is, can I get this open? Yes. Morbid Angel with Blessed Are the Sick, or Blessed Are the Sick, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah, and this album might come across as an unusual choice for some people, because I think for most people, they say Altars of Madness is their favorite. It's just interesting though, for me, even though I've been listening to death metal since the 90s, Morbid Angel was initially a band which never clicked with me all that much until I heard this album, Blessed Are the Sick. Sorry, I should keep holding it up, shouldn't I? So, create a visual here. Yeah, Blessed Are the Sick. But this was the album where I remember it was the year 2012, I think, when I just, I had moved overseas and I had all my songs just on iTunes, and I listened to this album and suddenly the penny dropped and I thought, this is absolutely fantastic. Like, just such a badass, heavy album, especially with Dave Vincent's like low guttural vocals and everything, and the lyrics were absolutely fantastic. So this is a band going for a more satanic concept again, but I really like some of the lines, like I am Belial, I kneel not before my selfish desires, but it's, you know, something along those lines, but absolutely fantastic. And yeah, a lot of the songs are sort of slow and plodding, but it adds to that brooding kind of heaviness, which is really cool. But they also have some very fast, bouncy and catchy songs, and really interesting guitar solos. Like, I think this band is just unique when it comes to death metal. Like, they're so influential, but no one really sounds like them exactly, in my opinion anyway. So with this album, some of my favorite songs, okay, Fall From Grace, the opener, is absolutely fantastic after the intro. I also really like Brainstorm, Day of Suffering, fuck badass heavy riff in that, and great groove. I also, of course, the title track, Blessed Are the Sick. I love the video clip for that song, and Dave Vincent's vocals are just completely off the handle. It's absolutely fantastic when he just does those like deep bellows and growls. It's awesome. And then what else? Oh yeah, Abominations. That's going back to a fast and bouncy track, just like Brainstorm. And I also like the Ancient Ones. So I haven't mentioned every single song on this album, but the whole album is fantastic, and I just love this. So it's also important to me because it's the album that got me into Morbid Angel. So Morbid Angel, Blessed Are the Sick. And yes, if you're wondering, yeah, I do plan to get that in original format if I can, preferably on vinyl, because I know it's such a great album. Okay, so we've done 11, 12, and 13. So now we're coming up to 14. Mortician with Hacked Up for Barbecue. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know I'm a massive fan of this band. And yes, the way I found out about this band, it was 1997. I think it was in a British magazine, like Metal Hammer or Kerrang, but they had a short column review of this album. I just saw the cover art and the title and I thought, oh, this looks up my alley. And then I read the review and it was really funny. They said Chris Barnes has something to answer for here in terms of the lyrical content, where they quoted lyrics from the song Worms, you know, like boring through the skin, eating from within, feasting on the guts, drinking bile and pus. And they said about this, they said it's guitars tuned down as far as they can go, the vocals of a barking dog, and industrial styled hyper blasting drumming, all linking hands in a pure ring of death metal. And I thought that really resonated with me, and I thought I've got to check this out. And they said songs like, oh, what do you think about song titles like Three on a Meat Hook and Drilling for Brains? Classic stuff, and full marks for the samples too, because of course Mortician are famous for their horror themed lyrics, so they include a lot of samples from horror movies, and unlike Lividity, most of these samples are good and they fit the song. So yeah, but I remember when I first heard this, like I bought it back in the day, and I was just shocked by the sheer extremity of it, like how down-tuned, how heavy it was, and also the blasting drums, and also Will Rama's vocals. I thought, bloody hell, he's even outdoing Chris Barnes in terms of how low and guttural and moist his vocals were, but it's got that, you know, coupled with the blasting and the heaviness, it's just absolutely perfect. Like I said, I think Mortician's card lies in their simplicity. They always put a smile on my face because it's incredibly brutal, yet satisfying and so catchy. You know, with a lot of songs, they have a lot of mid-paced riffs and like a lot of bulldozing heavy riffs. Then they've got blast beats. And of course, yeah, so that's with drum programming done by Roger Beaujard. So there's like two members of this band. But what was I going to say about that? Sorry, I just had a mind warp. It was something regarding the songs. Oh yeah, that's right, Relapse Records. They said each one of Mortician's Hacked Up for Barbecues tracks is a Neanderthal whirlwind blast of entrail eroding musical murder. And they also described it as a cornucopia of cannibalistic carols. So those words said it better than I ever could, but this is just classic, brutal, extreme death metal, and I love it. I love all of Mortician's albums, but this is undoubtedly my favorite, and again, it was the first one I heard. 24 tracks on here, so I can't name my favorites, but just trust me, they're all really good. So yes, absolute classic, Mortician Hacked Up for Barbecue. Okay. All right. Okay, coming up to number 15 now. This album, always have loved it, always will. None other than NILE with Amongst the Catacombs of Nephron Ka. So everyone knows who NILE is, but imagine you're new to this style of music. NILE, as you can probably tell from the title and this cover art, they are a death metal band where they write their lyrics about ancient Egyptian themes. So talking about ancient Egyptian culture, religion, and historical events. So it's really interesting, but it's sort of written from the perspective of the Egyptian people and their, you know, polytheistic religion, and about, you know, their war with neighboring countries. Like there's one song, I think it's in Ramses Bringer of War, they say, I must smile the vile Hittite foe. So it's like stories told from an ancient Egyptian perspective, but they also incorporate gore and darkness, you know, in terms of like the ancient Egyptian gods. And like, I think this resonated with me so well is because I've always been interested in ancient history. I studied it at school and university. So like when a band like this came out, I was like, wow, that blew me away. It was like incredible and right up my alley, of course. What's interesting again is this is very brutal, technical death metal. So it's brutal and it's technical at the same time, but the playing is absolutely top notch and precise. And so heavy, again, the vocals are really heavy and guttural. And what is also interesting is the fact that they incorporate interesting elements. Like there are some keyboard moments which make it almost sound like black metal occasionally. Like even though I said like keyboards don't necessarily mean black metal, but in this case, they almost have an emperor-esque atmosphere in some of the songs, and they don't overuse the keyboards just to lift certain moments in the songs. And they also incorporate, what's really interesting is the traditional Middle Eastern music, you know, like on the song Qadaru Maklu, I think it's called. Yeah, it just makes you imagine being out in a shimmering hot desert, you know, in these traditional tribal instruments playing. It's absolutely fantastic, and the storytelling and the lyrics are brilliant. This was the band's debut album, and it will always be my favorite by theirs. Like, I don't really think NILE have released a bad album. Like, some of them they did have shitty production, but, and then, again, you probably know this, I'm not really a massive fan of really extra long albums, so some of their later ones, like In Their Darkened Shrines, were quite long, except this one is just short, to the point, it's just a punch in the face very rapidly for 30 minutes. So if you want to get absolutely pummeled, but with some atmosphere, go and listen to this. Yep, so some great songs on this. Like I really like Smashing the Annie 2, the opening one. Bara Edimazu, the second one is great. Serpent-Headed Mask. Ramsey's Bringer of War, that's like just a rallying war song. It's like you're getting pumped up for battle listening to that song. Stones of Sorrow, about the construction of the pyramids, is absolutely brilliant. And I love the guitar solo in that, especially after that scream line, "The god Khnum is my protector." Oh, really feel that. Yeah, of course, The Howling of the Jinn, that was the first NILE song I ever heard, and that really stood out to me, you know, because that part where he says, "Suffocate me, suffocate my soul," and they've got that, that scream with the pummeling war drums, it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and then Opening of the Mouth, it has some more sort of dark Egyptian atmosphere before the closing track, Beneath Eternal Oceans of Sand, with the acoustic intro. Absolutely fantastic. Totally original death metal. It is technical and brutal, so it's borrowing elements of traditional death metal, but then it's just making it something entirely new and innovative. And speaking of innovative, I included this in my thread, if you'll recall, many years ago, about 10 innovative albums that you need to hear. This is one of them. So NILE with Amongst the Catacombs of Nefren-Ka. Brilliant stuff. All right. Okay, coming into number 16 now. Nunslaughter with Hell's Unholy Fire. Okay, yeah, so if you're not familiar, Nunslaughter are a sort of cult death metal band. Like, as in very underground. They've been very dedicated to the concept since the 80s, I think. And what's interesting about them is that there are no bells and whistles with this particular band, Nunslaughter. Like, there are no guitar solos, there are no keyboards, nothing like that. And all of the lyrics are quite simplistic, but very catchy and to the point. And the riffs are just very catchy and mid-pace, but they do have blasting sections as well. And the vocals are kind of raspy, like, so it's like, and they're really evil sound. But when I first heard this, I think it was Uncle Ken who copied some for me when we were tape trading, and I just thought, what initially grabbed me about this band was the name, Nunslaughter, and I think I'd heard of an album called The Guts of Christ, and I thought it's interesting. This one's Hell's Unholy Fire, but yeah, totally original death metal. Like Nunslaughter are Nunslaughter. They don't sound like anyone else. And as their famous saying says, metal is death, death is metal, Nunslaughter, death metal. They also call themselves devil metal because all of the lyrics are satanic again. But just so many catchy songs on this, so many catchy moments. Of all the 18 tracks, it's just unbelievable. Like, some of my favorites, the opening track, I Am Death, is great. Just that was striking immediately. Also Death by the Dead. The Dead Plague is good as well. Yeah, Nunslaughter, that's the name of the track. Yeah, oh, Blood for Blood, I really like that song. And Impale the Soul. Yeah, so Blood for Blood. Some really memorable lyrics and a great, powerful atmosphere in that song. I also really like Impale the Soul, you know, impale the soul of Christ on the burning cross of death. And what is the last? Oh yeah, and then Satanic. Oh yeah, Perversion of Gore is good, like a great chorus in that. And then Satanic has just got such a striking end. So yes, it's hard to describe this band's music, but like I said, it's very bouncy, very catchy, very mid-pace, no bells and whistles, but it's absolutely awesome, and I love this album, so that's why it easily makes my top 20. Nunslaughter with Hell's Unholy Fire. All right. Am I moving faster today? Maybe, but we still have a few to go. I don't know. Okay, so coming up now to number 17. This one's an absolute classic, so I probably don't need to say much. Yep, you guessed it. Obituary with Cause of Death. Yep, so just like when I said, so this is classic Floridian death metal, one of the big four of death metal alongside, you know, Floridian death metal alongside Morbid Angel and Cannibal Corpse and, oh shit, I had in mind, I shouldn't have said I'm going to list the big four, but anyway, they are in the big four. And like I said about the Broken Hope album, Swamped in Gore, this album is just the typical embodiment of everything related to death metal, like the atmosphere, the guitar sound, the solos, the whole concept and the whole vibe. This is pure death metal. It's all embodied right here. It's definitely my favorite Obituary album, obviously, because it's in the top 20. And I think I'm not alone with that. A lot of people, you know, hail this one as a classic. So again, that's why I don't need to say much. But of course, John Tardy has unique vocals because they're more of a kind of like, they sound like a a gurgling drain almost, like he's not just like growling, it's kind of raspy, but he sings with so much emotion and there's a lot of range to his voice. So yeah, it's like he's using his voice more as a musical instrument, even though he's imparting lyrics as well. But like just the guitar solos, they're just so classic and early 90s. The drumming from Donald Tardy is amazing, like just really heavy, and it makes the music so punchy. Oh, absolutely brilliant. Like no bad songs on this album. I really like, the Body Bag is a really heavy one. Chopped in Half, of course, that is a fan favorite, and I just love it too. You know, chopped in half, feel the blood spill from your mouth, and then the double kick bass. Yep, absolutely brilliant. The cover of Celtic Frost, Circle of the Tyrants. Awesome. Yeah, Find the Arise, Cause of Death. Memories Remain, I like that one, you know, with the keyboards. It got some atmosphere, you know, especially with that line, Life Goes On. So good. God damn it. This album is just absolutely brilliant. And I was just, of course, with all these albums, I test listened to them before to make sure, yes, these are in my top 20. This one definitely is. So if you've been living under a rock and you haven't heard this album, I definitely implore you to check it out as an essential death metal album. So Obituary, Cause of Death. Classic stuff. Okay. All right, coming up next now, this one is one, I don't know if it would fit into most people's top 20, but it does for mine. And like it's partly the fact that it's original. And this is Pungent Stench with Club Mondo Bizarre for members only. So maybe you can't see it very well in this light, but that shows the three members there in like gimp masks or, you know, shiny leather masks, you know, so that's sort of related to the concept of bondage. So, you know, Pungent Stench have always had that sort of like perverse element of, you know, to their lyrics and everything, you know, for shock value. But yeah, first and foremost, the reason why I like this album is just because it's so damn catchy. This is, I think the one that most people like is Been Caught Buttering, and I do like that, especially the songs like Shrunken and Mummified Bitch and Games of Humiliation, classic songs from Been Caught Buttering. But this album is a lot more polished, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that the production is very clean and you can hear everything clearly, but the guitars are just so sludgy and heavy, but really, really groovy. So there's a lot of groove to these tracks. Like it's not all blast beats, it's often like, you know, just up tempo, you know, mid-pace drumming, but so catchy, and there's just a real atmosphere and feeling to all of these songs. So all of the songs are memorable. And I also like the lyrics too, because they're a bit different. Like for example, the opening track, True Life, it's about someone who's sick of watching reality TV. So they say, the only life I like to see is true life, and it's about them deliberately causing tragedies for entertainment, which is a sick concept, but oh, come on, it's death metal. You're looking at it for shock value, aren't you? You know, like Kleister Boogie is about like a bondage, you know, so they have some kind of yeah, weird and sick lyrics, but again, there's an element of comedy to it. Like they're trying to make these lyrics like so disgusting that they make you laugh, and that's certainly achieved in some songs. Like there's some way to just go, oh, that's wrong. You know what they're writing about, like hydrocephalus. If you know the song, you know it. But yeah, just first and foremost, it's really catchy song. So God, I could just name every song, and I will. Like True Life, Kleister Boogie. Choked Just for a Joke is a good one, catchy. Hydrocephalus, as I said, very catchy, like, and also like those weird lyrics which I mentioned. I'm a Family Man is an interesting song, so that's about someone who kills their whole family. Treatments of Pain, great riffing in that, and it's sort of like, that song is a lyrical conversation between two people, and I really like the line, fuck you, you can't bring me down, when there's a will, there is a way. So even death metal can be inspiring. In Search of the Perfect Torture is really good. Also, yeah, Practice Suicide, Fuck Bizarre. Fuck Bizarre has some, oh, just ribald lyrics in that song. And then, yeah, the last song, which I probably won't mention because I don't want the video to get taken down. So, yeah, this is sort of like very old school death metal, but it's heavy and it's groovy and it's catchy. And this band takes a lot of influence from 70s rock as well. So, again, if that sounds unclear what I mean, just go and listen to the album. And I'm sure you will understand what I mean, that it's just extremely catchy. Yep, so Club Mondo Bizarre for members only by Pungent Stench. Underrated album, in my opinion, and my favorite Stench album. Okay, two more to go. So coming up to number 19, I do own this one on vinyl, but I'm just showing it on CD today because I think this cover's more interesting. 6 Feet Under with Warpath. So of course, most of you probably know who 6 Feet Under are. It's a bit of a shame actually, because they're a band that everyone seems to love to hate, and I don't understand the hate for this band because I think they're really good. Of course, started out as a supergroup involving Chris Barnes, ex-Cannibal Corpse, or he was still in Cannibal Corpse at the time when he started this, Alan West, ex-Obituary, Terry Butler from Massacre, and Greg Gall on drums from another band, I can't remember, but yeah, this started out as a supergroup. This is their second album featuring the same lineup, and I just absolutely love this album, always have. I remember when it came out in 1997 and I bought it, I was really excited and I thought, this album is so fresh, original and different. Most people say that the best album by this band is Haunted, the first one, and I do like that one a lot, except I just think it's a bit flat and languid. They could have sped that up just slightly. But this one, on the other hand, is absolutely riff-tastic. So many like thrashy, heavy, catchy riffs on this, thanks to Alan West. And just the songs are written a bit differently. Like Chris Barnes' vocals, he's sort of following along with the riffs, but in a kind of repetitive way. Like he'll repeat one line several times, and I know people might say, oh, that sounds really boring, but it's sort of like he's getting locked into the groove and just singing along, and it just works so well, and it makes the songs so memorable. And in addition to that, Chris, he starts experimenting with different voices. Like in Cannibal Corpse, he occasionally did those like horror-based screams, and yeah, now he's doing that on this album. So not just his trademark guttural vocals, but also the high-pitched screams and everything. So that's why they say Chris Barnes voices. But I think he's absolutely brilliant as a lyricist, as a musician, as a vocalist. So yeah, sorry if you're annoyed at me for including this, but I will always stand by this band, and I think this album is fucking excellent. So many good songs. So it starts off with War Is Coming. Some of my favorites though are Non-Existence and A Journey into Darkness, just very catchy. Animal Instinct includes, like, that's a faster number, including Chris's like warped, weird vocals. They have a cover of Death or Glory. Burning Blood is my favorite song on the album, so if you're looking for a starting point on this album, check out the song Burning Blood. And yeah, I think I've mentioned this, but my friend and I, we formed a band inspired by this band and album, and we used to cover all of these songs at rehearsals, and our favorite one to play was Burning Blood. Brilliant song. 420 is really interesting. That even includes some attempts at clean vocals from Chris, and I don't know if that was intended or he just broke out into song in the studio, but it actually fits very well, and those vocals have charm. Revenge of the Zombie is a very catchy track. As I Die, very classic song, like in the vein of Obituary, really good guitar solos in that. Night Visions is good as well, and then it closes with the slower and more reflective track, Caged and Disgraced. Yeah, so really good, and that song is actually about the pushing for the legalization of marijuana. I think that's what, so like the lyrics are symbolic, but yes, really good, very catchy. So if you hear a lot of people hating on this band and you've never heard them, fuck all that, just go and check out this album. It'll always be one of my favorite death metal albums. So 6 Feet Under with Warpath. Okay, and now we're coming up to the last one for today. I thought I was doing well, but it looks like this video is going to be as long as the last one, but oh well, you don't want to hear me just say, hey, this is my album, it's in my top 20, good, next. Boring, isn't it? In my opinion. But okay, so coming in at number 20, the last one for today is Torture Killer with Swarm. So yes, interesting, in my top 20 list. So, spoiler, if you haven't seen my first video, a Cannibal Corpse album is in my top 20. I won't say which one in case you haven't seen it. And then 6 Feet Under and Torture Killer. So Chris Barnes was the vocalist on this album. So in my top 20 death metal albums, I have 3 featuring Chris Barnes. And that's no coincidence, because I think he's brilliant as a vocalist and lyricist. But yes, Torture Killer are a Finnish death metal band. And they had, with their first album, For Maggots to Devour, their mission statement was to replicate that 6 Feet Under and Obituary sound, so that's what this Finnish band was going for. And then after the first album, Liuka, the original vocalist, left. So then, as the story goes, they were putting out advertisements for a new singer, and none other than Chris Barnes responded, which is interesting because obviously the band name is inspired by 6 Feet Under, because 6 Feet Under have a song called Torture Killer on the Maximum Violence album. But yeah, so this is death metal inspired by 6 Feet Under and Obituary. So if you like those bands, you'll like this. And I think I've mentioned this before, no offense to 6 Feet Under, but dare I say, I think the musicianship on this album is better than 6 Feet Under. Like, the riffs are better, the songs are catchier, but it was also, I shouldn't discount 6 Feet Under too much, because it was the fact not only was Chris Barnes the vocalist on this album, he also produced the album, which gave the album a lot of punch and catchiness. The good thing about Chris as a producer is he's never shy to include bass in the mix, which a lot of bands omit, so that he always makes the albums really heavy. So I like that production quality of Chris Barnes. But just, oh God, some of these songs, like I remember playing it to a friend and he said like one song sounded musically like a Biohazard song. Like I think that was A Funeral for the Masses. So they have these just unconventional like sort of death metal riff, but like they're really marching, really heavy, really catchy. Of course the lyrics again are really super gory and disgusting, as you would expect from Chris Barnes. So it's the full death metal package here, but it's just like razor sharp, punchy, and so heavy. Like yeah, some of my favorite tracks on this would be A Funeral for the Masses, that's the Biohazard-esque one. I also really like Multiple Counts of Murder, very catchy chorus. Obsessed with Homicide, oh fucking awesome brutal riffing in that. Sadistic is a good one as well, you know, Handcuffed to the Bed. That's how the song starts. Oh, I'm just going to read these song titles out because they're all really good songs. Like Cannibal Gluttony is really good, as well as I Killed You, very good vocals in that. Probably my favorite track on the entire album is Heading Towards the Butchery, I think, because it's just got some bouncy, heavy, energetic riffs, and coupled with the lyrics and vocals, it's absolutely fantastic. And it closes with a violent scene of death. So every single song on this is absolutely fantastic, and I think this is a criminally underrated band and album. So in my opinion, it's essential death metal. I did get to see this band at Steelfest a few years ago, but it was minus Chris Barnes. It was the current singer who also played in a black metal band, but I always forget, Blood Chalice, or no, I think I got that. No, I always mix them up with someone else, because in one of those bands, the singer actually died, I'm not sure. But anyway, yes, really good album. So that's my number 20, Torture Killer with Swarm. Okay, and there you have it, guys. They are my top 20 death metal albums. So I've done the second half today, in addition to a couple of runners up. So hope you enjoyed the video and my choices. Like, again, some people are probably thinking, oh, you omitted some classic bands, like there's no Incantation, Immolation, or Suffocation. That's true, I do like those bands, but they just didn't make my top 20. So remember, it's my list. They are my top 20, so first 10 in the first video, second 10 in this video. Let me know what you think of these bands and albums. And as always, I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Let's get some discussion going. You can ask me about these albums or tell me what you think about them. Yeah, discussion is more interesting, so I would love to hear from you. Thanks a lot for your support of the channel as usual. I've got a ton of threads to answer and a shitload of other material to cover, so I'll be back very soon, but I'll just let you wait to see what's next. So in the meantime, take care and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers, bye.